Hi there, thanks for coming back to the channel. Today we're going to continue on practical tips if your child has a dyslexia diagnosis, and this is our second look at specific tips for memory. Now, last week or last video we were talking about learning times tables. Today we're going to look at the other thing that parents bring up with me often, which is when they give the child a list of things to do. So get changed, get washed, brush your teeth, have a shower. These practical things that usually happen first thing in the morning when everybody's getting ready to get up and go out for the day. So let's think about shopping lists. Do you have a shopping list? I know that I often write a list because if I don't, guess what? I won't remember everything. So I'm pretty sure that if you don't write a list, you can't remember everything either. Sometimes if I'm going shopping, I will go without a list, but only if it's a few things, maybe 4 or 5 items. And if it is 4 or 5 items, then I have to keep repeating them in my head over and over. In fact, I've got a very particular way of doing it, which I can share, which is to put it into alphabetical order and then just go with the initial letter of each thing. So, for example, if I was buying milk, cheese, bread, and butter, I would put that into alphabetical order, which would be B, B, C, M for bread, butter, cheese, milk. And in most supermarkets, I think the dairy would come before the bread, so eventually I would end up with just M. And of course it depends on which supermarket you're in, and exactly the right order that you would pick up your cheese, your milk and your bread. But no, your cheese, your milk and your butter. But your bread would come last because it will be off in another area in the supermarket. So, and even then, I have to, as I say, keep repeating it. I have to self-consciously work at remembering my list. It's not something that I move on to a different task, start thinking of something else, I could easily forget. Which, if you give your child 3 or 4 tasks to complete in the morning, get dressed, fold up your night clothes, make your bed, brush your teeth, for example, it might be that they don't do them all for the simple reason that they're distracted by, oh, what am I wearing? I don't like this outfit. I love this outfit, etc., etc. So it's easy to understand why a child would forget to do one or more of the things on that verbally given list. Okay, now before I go any further, I want to talk about something called a memory palace, which is something that you will have to look for yourself on a search engine. The reason being, I have never used such a thing, but I have heard good things about it. I think it's the kind of thing that you need to put a little bit of work in at the beginning to set it up in your mind or in your child's mind, but once it's done, my understanding is it's a very effective way to remember things. As I say, I've never used it, so I can't recommend a particular one or send you in a certain direction because I'll be honest, I don't know. That is just somebody else's recommendation, not really mine. Now, something that you can do, and this is a game that I used to, it wasn't really a game, but it was something that I did for fun when I was at school. So it would be listing numbers 1 to 10. So there you've got 10, you could put 10 things in your list, 10 things that the child has to do. And then as you go, each one has a rhyme. So 1, it rhymes with gun. 2, shoe. 3, tree. And you go right up to 10, hen. Now you don't have to choose these same things that I've picked. And then say, for example, I wanted to remember to make my bed. So in my mind, I would have an image somehow of a gun and the making of the bed. And the more absurd the image, the easier it is to remember. So I don't know if you're thinking about a huge gun and it's laying across a made bed, or like a water gun, you know, these big plastic ones that you get these days, something like that, aiming it at the bed, whatever. That would be up to you. And then you move on to 2, shoe. So 2 is getting dressed, so there's an image of putting on the shoe. 3, tree, maybe that's for brushing teeth, so you have an image of a branch of a tree instead of a toothbrush, and so on until you've, you know, however many things. And that can be a help to remember the list. Of course, the problem then is remembering I've got a list of things to do and I have to work through them. So that that's not necessarily particularly helpful, depending on how you use that. I would say the best way to ensure that your child completes all the tasks that have to be done is using training. And because, as I've said before, it's likely to be a morning routine, it has to be a routine where you're doing the same thing every day. Okay? It's up to you to decide how you want to play it at the weekend, but on a weekday, when everybody's getting up at the same time, there are things to be done. Start with one thing that the child has to do, and it's the same every day. And then once they can do that without being told, you add a second thing. And I would recommend giving rewards. So you say to the child, as soon as you can do X, very specific, this will be your reward. Now, obviously, it has to be a very small reward, because you're going to keep doing it because you're going to add to the morning routine. And you don't want to be saying, I'm going to buy you a bike if you can do this, because after 2 weeks they're ready for their bike and you've got nowhere to go. So something very small. It might even just be a rewards chart, and that they've got certain amount to complete, and once they get to the very end of the chart, then there's a proper reward. And again, that's up to you to decide what that would be. And obviously, like so many things to do with memory, it takes time and it's repetitive, because it's the repetition that actually puts it into the long-term memory. Okay, I hope that is helpful. Come back next time and we'll be looking again more specifically at reading, how to help your child with a dyslexia diagnosis for their reading. Thanks very much and see you next time. Bye.